Mitt Romney doubled down on that controversial statement the campaign released last night, doubled down this morning, even before we heard from the President of the United States.
Well, a few things, Wolf. I think we all feel a tremendous sense of loss at the killing of Ambassador Stevens. You've dealt with many career Foreign Service officers and various ambassadors, so have I. They don't get as much attention, but they're often right in the heat and the heart of the battle. And this is just another tragic example of that. As it relates to events over the last couple days, you know, just a reminder, Wolf, of the chaos that a lot of the policies of this administration have sowed. Chaos in the Arab Spring, chaos where our allies in Israel feel that they can't rely on us. You saw the flare-up over the last couple days between the Prime Minister of Israel and the President. And as a process matter, separate from just our overall policy critique, Governor Romney issued a statement. He was critical of a statement that was put out by the administration. The administration let hours and hours and hours go by before they corrected the statement that had come from their administration. Finally, late last night, they did correct it. They disavowed it, much like Governor Romney had criticized it. But his overall critique of what the events over the last couple of days represent, what they're symptomatic of, have not changed.
Well, let me just press you on that, because the statement was issued by the U.S. Embassy in Cairo, not by the ambassador, not by the State Department. They disavowed it. It was issued even before there was any violence, significant violence, apparently going on at the embassy. And yet this morning, after everyone knew that the State Department had disavowed it, the administration had disavowed it, Governor Romney came out and once again reiterated that condemnation.
Well, first of all, Wolf, you know, you've covered the State Department, you've covered the foreign policy apparatus. Egypt's the largest country in the Middle East, in the Arab world. Its embassy, our embassy there, is one of the largest in the world, certainly one of the largest in the region. The embassy in Cairo works very closely with the Near East Affairs Division at our State Department, and closely tied up. If there was a breakdown in communication between the State Department and the embassy, that's certainly disappointing and adds to the mixed messages. But that was something that was not corrected till very late last night. And to be clear, just what a breakdown in communication there must have been then, because the embassy reissued the statement in social media networks after the violence. So you had the statement, then you had the violence, and then they reissued the statement late last night.
Let me let Robert Wexler respond.
With all due respect to Dan, he misses the point. The point is that the attacks on our embassies in Cairo and in Libya and the death of our ambassador and the 3 other Americans amounted to a national tragedy. And one of the great things about Americans is that during a national tragedy...
If you're going to talk to Dan, look in that camera right there, and you can talk directly to him.
One of the great things about our country, Dan, is that during a national tragedy, we come together, we unite. You speak about mixed messages. There is no worse mixed message than when a major presidential candidate in the middle, actually at the beginning of a national tragedy, begins to create partisan divide. When an American ambassador is killed, when 3 Americans are killed doing their job overseas, the time is to unite. You have plenty of time to question whatever you want about the president's policies in Libya, in the Middle East, and the broad spectrum. But when we still don't even know the facts, to do that kind of partisan attack, I think respectfully creates the ultimate mixed message to the people outside that embassy. Those are the ones that we should be focused on, the perpetrators of this crime, the perpetrators of this kind of terrorist act, and that's what President Obama did today at the White House.
You know, Congressman Wexler, I think we have 2 separate issues here that you're conflating. One is we do have a national security crisis, and it is true that we need to unite to find a solution to it. It won't be easy because we've got a real mess on our hands, in part because of the policies of President Obama over the last several years in the region. But to say that in the context of a presidential campaign, our democracy cannot have a conversation about the right course is not only inconsistent with decades, if not centuries, of the history of our democratic tradition, but it's inconsistent with the way you carried on in 2008, the consistency with which you, as a surrogate for President Obama and President Obama, criticized every day our policy in Iraq, while American fighting men and women were on the front lines. Now, I may have respectfully disagreed with you on those issues, but I certainly respected your right to weigh in and criticize the policies of President Bush, criticize the policies of Senator McCain. Hold on. 1980, 1979, many of the same critics said it was Ronald Reagan could not criticize Jimmy Carter's policies in Tehran while hostages were in the embassy. We could unite as a country and stand behind the pursuit of a solution to this crisis, but still recognize that it is in the best spirit of our country's democratic tradition to have this conversation about what policies work and what policies don't. And it's, with all due respect, it's not up to you or President Obama to decide when our political leaders across the political spectrum can weigh in with their points of view, so long as they're constructive. And I don't think there was anything that wasn't constructive about what Mitt Romney said yesterday. In fact,
actually,
the president disavowed the statement that the governor was criticizing.
Dan, Governor Romney accused the President of the United States of sympathizing with the attackers on the American embassies. That's not a discussion about policy, with all due respect. That is the most striking partisan attack you can possibly level. That's not...
So now you're saying, so now you have a problem with the content of the statement. A moment ago you said that he shouldn't even speak at all. So now you concede that it was okay for the governor to speak, you just didn't exactly like the words he chose.
No, that's not what I said, Dan.
Do you think, Governor Romney, do you think it was appropriate for him to weigh in on this issue when he has a serious criticism of the policies that have contributed to the mess that we are seeing? Americans today are seeing a mess on their television screens that is unleashing throughout the Middle East. Iran is getting close to nuclear weapons capability. Tens of thousands of people are dead in Syria. The streets are up in flames in Libya. We have American diplomats dead. The Israeli Prime Minister feels he cannot trust and stand by the American president. And you say that a nominee for a major party can't weigh in?
No, I'm not saying he can't weigh in, but if you think that the Republican nominee accusing the President of the United States of sympathizing with the terrorists who attacked our embassies is in any way constructive in terms of what our men and women on the ground need to do, you are sadly mistaken. That is not the way in which you lead the world's single military power.
The embassy statement criticized the bigotry as somehow explicitly, or if not implicitly, responsible for the violence that was unleashed against our diplomatic posts in Cairo.
The president made a very
let me finish my point, Rob. I let you finish. So the statement that came out of the administration yesterday, and that was reissued in social media networks after the violence, blamed, criticized the quote-unquote bigotry, the biggest bigotry here, for being bigotry in the United States, for being responsible for that violence. That's what Governor Romney was speaking out against. That was what he was criticizing. The idea that Americans are responsible, quote-unquote, American bigotry is responsible for that violence, and the president himself, finally, it took 9 or 10 hours, but the president himself disavowed the statement that the governor was criticizing, too. So your problem, it sounds like now, Congressman, is not with Governor Romney. Your problem now is with President Obama, because he himself disavowed the same statement.
Let's jump in here real quick. I just want to ask you real quick, because you're talking about that the Governor Romney is politicizing this, and we've heard that criticism a lot, Robert. But what do you think President Obama, he's heading to Las Vegas to hold a rally. He's campaigning today. Do you think he should have canceled this event? I mean, as you said, this is a national tragedy. Should he be campaigning on this same day?
The president had a very somber press conference statement today with Secretary Clinton. He has handled this tragedy for the past 24 hours, and now he is moving on with his schedule. No one is suggesting that time should stop. But before the facts are even known, and Wolf said it quite well, Governor Romney made the statement last night, and then he doubled down this morning, even knowing that the ambassador was killed, even knowing that remarks claiming that the President of the United States somehow sympathizes with the terrorists who attacked the embassies. That's where I believe most Americans will say he's crossed the line.
All right.
Well, unfortunately, I'll give you one final thought. 10 seconds.
I would just say,
ahead,
it's sad that we're bogged down in process. You want to talk about politics here, parsing the different things Governor Romney said in a statement. Here's the bigger question, Congressman. Do you think the president's policy in the Middle East has been a success? It looks like a disaster right now to most Americans. That's the discussion we should be having.
The president's policy in Iraq has been quite successful. He's gotten us out of a very difficult situation.
What about Iran? What about Syria? What about Israel? What about Libya?
You asked the question,
What about
Dan.
Egypt?
Let me answer.
All right. right.
He has implemented the strictest, most comprehensive set of sanctions with respect to Iran. Iran's power is on the decrease as opposed to the increase, which it was when President Obama took office.
So why is there a crisis in the relationship between the Israeli government and the United States over the last 36
There
hours?
is no crisis in the
There's
relationship.
No crisis.
What President Obama has laid down a very strict set of standards, red lines.
Do you think that gives confidence to our allies in the region? Do you think our allies in the region have confidence?
Hold on. Unfortunately, we got to take a break. We're all out of time. But you know what? This is the second time the two of you have been here in the Situation Room, and we're going to invite both of you back to continue this conversation. We didn't really even get into some of the stuff we wanted to discuss, including this apparent inability for scheduling reasons or whatever for the Prime Minister of Israel and the President of the United States to meet when Netanyahu comes to the United States. All right, stand by, guys.